Welcome to Jenesis Gems, a podcast for the advice community, where we explore the evolution of advice, brand and marketing, and leadership. I'm your host, Jenny Pearce. This season, we're looking at business through the lens of then, now, next, shining a light on where we've come from, what's driving us today, and where we're heading next. All, of course, with a marketing twist. Let's get into it. Today, I'm joined by Jenny Brown, CEO of JBS Financial and author of an amazing new book, Retirement: The Great Escape Plan. Jenny has built one of the most respected advice businesses in the country, and her voice around retirement planning has truly helped shape the profession. I will say in advance, I could be a little bit biased on that. Jenny, before we dive into then, now, next, can you just give a snapshot to our listeners of who JBS Financial is and a little about you today?
Thanks, Jen. I'm really excited to be here or be back here after how many years. You should be biased because you've been helping us for all these years to create a marketing plan and absolute, rock with the book. So I guess a little bit about JBS. We're a 3-partner firm. We're remote, and I'll hear more about that a little bit later. We specialize in those looking or preparing for retirement and those who are retired and then all the way into aged care. So it's great. We've got 5 advisors within the business, including the 3 partners and a fabulous client service support team and practice manager.
Well done. Congratulations. So let's dive into the then. As you know, Genesis is celebrating 20 years of being in business this year. And, so I wanted to sort of do a bit of a dive back to, a little while ago for you when, JBS first came about and, what did the business look like? What drew you to advice in the first place?
Well, can I be honest?
Yes.
I fell into it. So I've been around long enough, and for those older listeners, they would know. So 33 years in the business. But back in 1992, I got made, 1990, I got made redundant in Paul Keating's recession we had to have. I was working in advertising, had a little bit of, I was around all the creatives, a lot of a numbers person, and middle management. And they got rid of all the middle management because they said, well, the juniors can do a bit more and the seniors can do a little bit less, and we don't need, you guys. Couldn't get a job. No one was hiring. And I was an avid reader at those times, as I still am. And I was reading or had read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I'm going through the ads in the paper, as they did then, because, the internet was, not around. And I saw this ad that said, Think and Grow Rich. If you want to earn in excess of $40,000, call this person. And I still vividly remember the ad. And I knew the person because his uncle worked at the advertising agency with me. And I went, oh, okay, I know him. And so I called. And it was to work in insurance, life insurance. And I went, I can do this. And he said, can you really? And I said, of course I can. I had no idea. But that really started me. So through there, I then did a sales course because very much insurance then and now and everything we do in life is about selling. So you've got to present yourself, you've got to sell yourself and market yourself, whatever words you want to use. Whilst you can be technically brilliant, you still need to have that bent of a little bit of sales. So I did that and gave it a go. I was also told back then by the manager that women don't make it in this business, meaning financial services, insurance, and you'll be no different. Now, I could have taken that with a whack and a belly punch and gone, yeah, you're probably right. But I had nothing else to go to. We had, interest rates at 17, 18, 19%. I had a mortgage, albeit small, but I still had to pay the bills. And so I went, well, I've got no choice. I've got to keep doing it. So I did. And then through doing various, again, networking, I love I'm a huge fan of networking and talking to people. I then joined a licensee as a self-employed person, and the rest is history. And that's really how JBS came about. Um, and yeah, here I am, 33
A-
years later.
I guess that that fellow that said women don't necessarily make it got it wrong.
I think he did. Just a tad.
Just a tad. So I guess, you mentioned that you sort of fell into it. Often, we don't choose our career chooses us. And I think we've all got a story at some point in time similar to that. Um, but as things went along, did you have a clear vision of what you wanted JBS to become?
No. I don't know whether that's the answer you really wanted, but no, absolutely. It just JBS evolved. So originally I was a sole trader. And then when I moved to be working with a licensee as a well, what is now an authorized representative, but as a self-employed authorized rep, I saw an accountant and he said, "Well, you need to run it through a business. So here you go. Here's the shelf company. What do I name my business? Well, the name of the shelf company." So back in those days, you had to, if you set up a company, you couldn't just do it online. The accountants used to take the company, constitutions, go down to the stamps office, get them all stamped, and so that was it. So Howden Ridge was born. I changed the name to Howden Financial Services because I didn't have anybody in my corner from a marketing point of view. And yeah, so that was born and it evolved from there. Off the back of that, I again through networking and talking to people, I met a fabulous guy who's no longer with us, and he looked after salary packaging and insurance. And whilst I did insurance, I love insurance, I really believe in it. My passion was the retirement and helping people get enough money in their supers, really. So whilst he was never a business partner, we joined forces and we said, well, we need to really get a umbrella name, not my shelf company name, not his shelf company name. But that's how JBS formed. So JBS, again, we changed the name to JBS Financial Strategists, and then that's how JBS evolved. And it was really named after Jenny Brown, Barry Shields. No double B, but it was that sort of umbrella talking to clients so we could talk to
Mm.
them as a united front to say, well, we can handle everything from the insurance on Barry's side to the financial planning on my side. So
So it sounds like to me that you've kind of, in some ways, always had a bit of a retirement focus because, today in modern times, we talk about niche all the time. I mean, you were almost niching from the beginning to some degree, almost from the beginning.
well, sort of. So we actually, so yes and no. I say yes because in 2000 through a girlfriend of mine. So 8 years into doing this, and she said to me, self-managed super is the way to go.
Mm.
So she and I went and did a course, and back then it was all about RBL compressions and how to, compress stuff and get more money into super. So we had that side. So I did that course and went, I love self-managed super funds. Platforms at that stage were horrendously still expensive and clunky, and you could only get managed funds. With self-managed super funds, you could invest in property, direct shares, all of that sort of, which is our investment philosophy and ethos now. But we still had a lot of our, Gen X and Y clients, so our younger clients. So we almost had two divisions within
Mm.
JBS. And I looked after the self-managed because I loved that. And I had another advisor over time who looked after the younger, what we call the platform, or the younger clients, those that didn't have enough money for self-managed. So it was yes, we had that niche, but we still had these younger clients as well. And it wasn't until, later on as I got, a bit more sensible and really understood that you do need to concentrate on a specific, niche of clients,
Yeah.
to really, I guess, create the proper brand and create a successful business, that we then really focused on those. So, we still have some younger clients, and they're usually the kids of our older clients. So they're really family groups. So we do very much, the family office style of looking after clients.
Mm.
But yeah, retirees, retirees are definitely out there.
Your thing.
Mm.
Well, you did bring up branding and positioning a little bit then, and as you know, I have a deep passion for marketing, and I think you do too, to some degree. So, I guess in the early days, and this is probably my last question for the then, is was there much around branding and positioning, or was it really just whatever?
It's probably whatever. So I guess things like I've done a newsletter, fortnightly newsletter, e-newsletter for now. Oh wow. Um, Call it 20, almost 25 years, at least 20 plus years. It originally started with my accountant, myself, and my business coach at that time. So the three of us joined together to rotate and create a whole lot of different articles. So it wasn't so onerous just on me, because I knew absolutely nothing about, you know, things like MailChimp and newsletters and stuff like that. And it was an e-newsletter. But that's really how it started. So I've always been a fan of making sure that you are putting yourself in front of clients and people. We ran a lot of events, a lot of seminars, in-person seminars back then. I stopped doing them because they are a huge amount of work, but they still work, so they're still great. But and they generate, new clients. But we got to a stage where we said, well, no, we'll actually put our marketing efforts somewhere else.
Mm.
But the newsletters have never stopped, as you well know. So we
I do.
continue on the fortnightly newsletter. When my accountant sold his business, we basically disbanded what we were doing with the three of us, and Create, Protect, Enjoy was born. And that came out of us as a team whiteboarding, what do we want our tagline to actually be? So whilst the company name is JBS Financial Strategists, what's our tag? What do we stand for? What do we mean? And so we put on a whiteboard every just one words, a couple of them were two, exactly what our ethos was, what our values were, all of that side of things. And then we stood back, we let it ruminate for probably a week, stood back, and then we crossed out the ones that weren't probably as pointed as they could be. And we came up with Create, Protect, Enjoy. So creating wealth, protecting your wealth so you get the chance to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's through everything. And that was how CPE formed, because it's Create, Protect, Enjoy. So what do you call your firm newsletter when you can't come up with something, really fancy? CPE. So yeah, that's probably I guess the then, and it still stands with us.
Yeah, well, I guess the thing is that that tagline really goes to the heart of the business, and I don't think that heart has really changed in all the years I've known you,
No.
and obviously Warren and Peter, and the team, it's almost the pulse of the business. So I think that's a remarkable achievement, because often brands or businesses will, they'll iterate or change those taglines, and the ethos changes over time because things change in business and in life. but you've stayed very true to that, and that's really quite commendable. So well done to you.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay, so we're shifting to now. Just probably not physically right today, but post COVID we'll go. So obviously, COVID was a huge um, impost on businesses, on small businesses, and everybody in general, but particularly in small businesses because we all had to change the way we did things. We all had to change how we approached literally our everyday life. So, how did you pivot? How did JBS pivot?
So I mentioned business coach before. I've been a big believer in business coaches. I've always had a business coach. I'm sorry, I haven't always had it. Probably the last 25 years I've had a business coach. So when I could start, or probably not afford, but really when I could afford to pay someone to make sure that we're on track and be there to help, because there's a lot of things, whilst there's a lot of things that I can do, there's a lot of things I've taught myself to do. I can't do everything. Managing people is probably, well, or team members is probably one of them. I'll admit. Warren, my business partner, is fabulous at that. And so over the years, I've always had a business coach that's helped with that HR and people management when I've got stuck, and and they've coached me through that side of things. So sorry, I digress. But so in COVID, we had a business coach who we still have. And when I was doing a lot of reading, and we had an office in South Melbourne, and COVID was really heating up in Europe, and they're talking about shutdowns, and especially, the Italians with, I vividly remember in their apartment buildings and how they kept themselves motivated by singing from the balconies and things like that. And I came in on the Monday, and I said to Warren, I really think that this is really becoming something big, and I really think that we need to act now, not, in a week or 2 weeks, or when we have to and we don't have any choice. The previous Friday, over Friday lunch, we'd sat down and we'd actually said to the guys, "Look, if you had to work from home, what's your phone plans and what's your internet like?" And we went around the office, and everyone was fine, which was great. So we knew that we could pick up and move. So we made a decision then on that Monday that, you know what, we actually are going to close the office ahead of time, before it was mandated, and we would move everyone home. So we said, right, take home everyone. And a lot of that was because I was in a car, Warren was on a scooter, but everybody else was on public transport. So what we didn't want was the guys getting, being put at risk, because we didn't know what COVID was about. We just
No, no,
didn't know
that's
back
true.
then. Now we go, "Oh, okay. Did we overreact?" Yeah. And so we closed the office, and we put a sign on the door, and we said, and we had everyone work from home. Fortunately, 18 months earlier, actually, was it 18 months or 6 months earlier, we'd had the foresight to get rid of our server, and everything was in the cloud. So we were purely Microsoft, Xplan, so we could log in from anywhere. So I spoke to our IT guy and said, right, this is what we're going to do. You need to give permissions, yada yada. So we were able to just pick up our computer. Well, the guys picked up their desktops. We picked up our laptops. Those that needed office chairs came in and got office chairs, second screens, the whole lot, and we all work from home. And but it wasn't that easy, because after you've been in an office environment and you've got those water cooler conversations and you've got clients coming in. So we did talk to our clients about, what we're doing. We needed some coaching, and we needed we needed to teach the team skills of working at home by yourself, basically.
Yeah.
And whilst we had the regular morning huddles and afternoon huddles, and we got together, we had to also give them skills of getting up, stretching, moving, fresh air, etc., etc. And that's where the coach came in. So we brought him in a lot to help with that coaching of us as a leadership team, but also our team, to make sure that they learned about remote working, because that, and then we put a whole lot of structures in place in terms of making sure that we came into the huddles, everyone had cameras on, everybody made an effort, you don't rock up in your pajamas, all of that sort of stuff. But it's serious. I've got friends who they did meetings, well, as you would know, like did meetings, no cameras, and in their pajamas sitting on
Yeah.
a couch.
Yeah.
No. So
No.
we had to look at the OH&S. So that was a big thing. So COVID was huge for us from that point of view.
Yeah. I guess what's admirable there is that you gave it all structure.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I recall from my time in your office, um, the vibe was always so positive. Like it was just a great vibe. It just felt like such an experience from the moment you walked in. And I think, replicating that from a work, with a work from home experience can be quite challenging, both from a team perspective, but from the client's perspective. So I think, that the fact that you put the work in and that you've continued on with that particular structure rather than going back into an office environment, I think is it's foresight, but it's also, making sure you're creating amazing team culture and client
Absolutely.
experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did deliberately make the decision to continue. So we surveyed picked up the phone survey, our top 10, 15, 20 clients, and asked them about their views of us continuing to work remotely without a physical office that we all went to on a day-to-day basis. And without a doubt, they all said, it's fine. We actually,
Yeah.
you're more accessible because we can jump on a 15 minutes, Teams or Zoom meeting today versus having to drive in, park, et cetera. So it worked really well for them. They love it. And it's morphed a little bit. We do a lot of lunches and coffees with clients. We have the ability to meet clients in a serviced office in the city. Couple of our team members do work from there, but for the majority of us, we love working from home.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you've touched on there is really, what you're doing differently is in terms of client engagement and service delivery, is that you've changed the way you build connection with your clients, even though you work remotely. The fact that they feel you're more accessible, I think, it's a positive. Sometimes, in offices we can fall into the trap of rolling from one meeting to the next meeting, and the superfluous meeting
Yeah.
the meeting that you have that you don't really need to have. But I think, yeah, I guess that would be, it's something you've had to continue to refine, that terms of engagement with your clients.
Absolutely. And having said that, we don't have a huge number of clients.
Mm.
So, whilst we want to grow our clients, we want to grow our client numbers with the right clients that fit our niche. And so we don't have a huge number that we have to see. A lot of advisors have to see, 6 clients a day, or, 10 or 15 clients or whatever it is a week, and that sort of thing. We don't have to do that. And we deliberately went down that path to say, right, we want to deal with the right clients who we can add value to, who feel appreciated, and they feel that we're adding value. And yes, service them slightly differently, whether it's with a text or a phone call or a Teams meeting or whatever it is. Our touch points with our clients, if we're talking about that side of things, is far greater than a lot of the average numbers that I see out there, when
Mm.
others are saying, oh, we have however many touch points. And I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Ours are exponential more, but
Mm.
that's because of the type of clients that we look after.
Yeah, I guess your ideal client has probably sharpened over recent years than it was probably way back then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so it's still pre-retirees, retirees moving into aged care. But to be able to add the right value, whilst we don't have a hard and fast dollar figure, we target clients that have got at least a wealth of $1.5 million, obviously plus their house or holiday houses and stuff, but in investable assets, because that's where we can really make a difference.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so we won't take on a client that we can't make a difference to.
During that time, I guess one of the things, I sort of like to touch on is just, you mentioned, Warren and Peter as business partners. Do you feel and obviously you're the CEO, do you feel like your leadership style has changed over that time?
Absolutely. So probably when you first met me, I was call it a control freak. Had to know the ins and outs of everything. Some might call me bossy, hopefully in a nice way. But everything had to be done to a certain way. I feel, and maybe you need to ask Warren and Peter this, but I feel that I've become more relaxed when I know and trust that someone has got the task, the role, or whatever completely under control.
Yeah.
Then it's fantastic. I just let them run with it. I like to have a bit of a helicopter. I say helicopter. I don't mean looking down, but more of a broad view. So things like, management reports and things like that. Sharon's awesome. She's our practice manager. She provides those on a regular basis. They're all online, so I can always jump in and have a look. It gives me the confidence and knowledge that, we've got things in hand. As touched on earlier, that, I'm whilst I can manage people, it's not one of my strengths and I really struggle at it and it takes so much energy out of me. That's that for a long while. Warren and Peter have been doing that, and now Sharon. So it's freed me up to then do things that I love, which is talking to people, networking, and doing the marketing, because that gives me energy and I love and enjoy doing it. So
Yeah.
it's fantastic. If I can talk to clients, talk to them about strategy and don't have to worry about the people management. I'm great with numbers, but a day of spreadsheets just does my head in. I can do them, but again, I get the energy from people. I'm talking to you. That's where I get
Yeah.
my energy,
Yeah.
and so it makes for a really good business relationship.
Yeah, I would agree. I think you can be a people person and not always be great at managing people. I think they're two different skill sets to me.
Absolutely.
So obviously back to marketing. Obviously a lot's changed between then and now in regards to marketing. The brand itself has really evolved. The storytelling has really come into play. You are a dynamo at video. There's lots of really good things going on. In particular, one little gem that I think, let's say it's the elephant in the room right now, and that's the new book, Retirement, The Great Escape Plan. Um, I just want to know a little bit just how the marketing has evolved and just what brought you to write the book.
So going back to a previous business coach, the one we've got today, he said to me, "You've got a book in you. I know you've
Mm,
got a book in you." A girlfriend of mine who helped me very much in the early days, she's more of a leadership coach. Um, she used to always say, "I reckon you should write a book." So I kept getting all these sort of, people. I did a author academy. And got some structure around it. But I just never really, there's so many business books out there, and I never really had the impetus to then get it done, because it was like just another business book or just another retirement book. And so it wasn't until last year, and we were talking. So you are very instrumental in this, Jen. And there was a framework from a colleague, and called 14 chapters, and it was talking about really breaking the book down into 14 chapters. So I went, you know what, I could do this and do it a bit with, a little bit of ghostwriting and that sort of stuff. So started it out, and then we had a big D&M, and I just said, I don't like it. It's not hitting the mark. It's too technical. There's too many numbers. It's, I've got no excitement in doing it. And it was, I don't know, one of those conversations where I think you suggested that we pull the numbers out, and I say we because it's been a joint effort. I might have written it, but you've been there. And really concentrate on the client stories from the last 33 years. And so that's then what I did. So I had the framework, which was fantastic. Pulled all of the numbers out, and I've actually got them in a Word doc. And I look at it now and go, what was I thinking? And it just wrote itself. There were some chapters that really took a bit to get through, but then, going with a different angle and things like that. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. It brings the fun of JBS into the whole equation. It really does mean that we've got, I guess, there's a legacy there, to leave our clients, to leave JBS with, but hopefully a tool that someone who doesn't want or necessarily need a financial advisor, they can pick up the book and they can read it, and hopefully learn some things and skills and become better as a result.
Yeah, I can remember the multiple conversations,
And Teams chats and stuff.
Teams chats,
Uh,
text messages. I think we covered all forums at some point.
yeah.
But I do think the evolution of the book has also, if I sort of sit outside and look back, has also shown me an evolution of you. I don't think you fully appreciated the impact that you've had, and and I'm not just talking about the profession, by the way. I mean, obviously, you've been advisor of the year, FS Power 50. There's a long list, but I think the impact it's much more grounded than that. And I think it's about the people that you've literally changed their lives along the way. And I'm not saying you've done it on your own. Obviously, you've got a team, but, you've literally, and I don't think you fully appreciated I think you knew it, but I think, it's just what we do and we all say things like that, don't we? But I think when we started to talk about, the first cut of the book, we started to realize it wasn't the book for you. And I feel like now, Retirement, The Great Escape Plan is the book for you, because it's a true reflection of really your career and the career and the path of JBS Financial, and the impact of what you as a business and as an individual have done for those people over the years. And the one thing that I love about it is that we all get very serious. But one of the things that I've enjoyed the most over our years working together is the fact that, that you keep things light when they need to be light, and you're serious when it needs to be. I mean, I'm not suggesting for any minute that that you make things funny for the purpose of just making it funny, but I think you do a great job of keeping levity in things and making sure that, yes, this is a serious subject, but we should have fun talking about it. And I feel like you brought that game into the book really, really well. And I think, that's something to be acknowledged. And I don't think you even quite realize that yourself yet, but hopefully you will.
Thank you.
Which leads me kind of to the next question, I guess. You know, the decision to do the book you've kind of touched on a little bit, and lots of people. Do you feel it was more a marketing decision, a leadership decision, or a personal decision? Was it, or all of the above? What do you feel really made you sit down and go, okay, now it's time for me to get serious about this?
Yeah, I think it's all of the above. I knew that I knew that it would take a lot of time and a lot of effort, which is probably why it had been on the back burner for so long that, you don't have time to do it. Well, if you don't make the time, you'll never have the time, right? Um, so, and I've always wanted to, and goes back to, my vice president time of, within the AFA, and that the values of the AFA was to help more Australians get great advice. That was the tagline there. And I really believed in that. And I still do believe in that. We need to
Mm,
help more Australians get great advice. Um, so by writing a book that they can buy for, I don't know, $30, $40, if that can help them plan or budget or put them on the right path or reach out and have a look at, where their supers are or what insurance they've got or making sure they've got a will or whatever it happens to be, that can help them, then I've achieved my job. So from that side of things, the more people we can do from by writing the book, more people we can do, more people we can help them do better by doing that. I think that the better, we are as a country and as a profession, as a financial services. So yes, it is also a marketing tool.
mm,
It's a very giant, big business card,
yeah.
because it contains I can't remember, we end up with 33 or 35 client stories. So there's individual client stories in there. Um, all bar one, I've changed the name and a couple of the details just so that people can't say, oh, that's so and so.
Yeah.
But they are all real client stories, and they are experiences that we've had as advisors within JBS with these clients. It's helping them, you know, build their dream home. It's helping them retire. It's helping them get structure, when they retire. It's making sure they've got the right estate plan in place. It's helping their kids. It's helping their parents. So it's from that point of view, it is full of client stories, and it hopefully showcases what JBS can do, for our clients. And so
Mm,
therefore it's an it's a way that someone out there who says, you know what, I know I've got it sorted, but I think I need some help. I
yeah.
might just reach out. And
Yeah.
if that can get one or two or 10, we don't want hundreds of clients. We can't handle them. But we want to grow our business, and we want to I want to leave a legacy. If they can help more people get great advice, then I've done my job.
I think the best thing about the book is that regardless of whether they're knocking on the JBS financial door or whose door they're knocking on, the book itself gives people a look through the hourglass, so to speak, of the different stages that we go through with money. Stages of life, stages, in business, stages of whatever. But it does give people a very unique perspective. And I feel that the average Australian feels when it comes to financial advice that, it is all about the numbers and it actually isn't necessarily about them at all. Whereas this book, and certainly there are other books on the market that definitely allow people to see that that's not actually the way financial advisors work, that that indeed it is about relationship and understanding who they are as the client. So it's a great read, I will say.
Thank you, Jen.
But the one thing I have to say, obviously for those that are listening and not watching the video version of this, is that I can see in the background there of the book.
Yeah.
And I will hold it up just so people can see it. But look, I do love this branding. And I think we both concur on the favorite part. I'm not
Yes.
sure.
I know, I know. It's really funny. Every time I see, and I might have one here too, but every time I see this old dude on the moped, it makes me smile.
I
It really does.
know.
It's just it's so cool because he's just got that the glasses and the fun, and she's hanging off the back, with the peering over her glasses, and to me that absolutely epitomizes the fun part of JBS. Hence the orange cover with
Yeah.
the purpley blue. So our brand is very much, purple with the orange.
Mhm.
I remember when it was first introduced before your time, Jen, but it was first introduced to me and I went, oh, it's a bit out there, for financial services business being, purple and orange. I was told it was very on trend. But I've grown to absolutely love it. So we didn't want the book to be, all JBS branding and stuff, but having that orange, it just gives that abundance and, you know, that the fun side of things. And that's how the book's also been written. Is
Yeah.
that,
I
we
do
tried,
really love it. I
yeah,
honestly, I like her cheeky little smile and
yes,
his cheeky little smile. And it does say you're never too old to get onto a moped.
yes. Oh, exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so next, we talk a lot about reimagining retirement. It's kind of almost a buzz phrase in the marketplace at the moment. How does that apply to your own life and business?
Yeah. So for me, as most of our clients know, it's very much flexible retirement. So for 18 months maybe or so, I've been working Monday to Thursday. So I have Fridays off. It started because it's probably longer than 18 months, but my mum got sick, and so I wanted to make sure I had flexibility. And then it then kept, I had Fridays off when we've got a investment property up in Queensland that we Airbnb, so we get to escape the winters of Melbourne. So up there, I went, oh, I want a bit more time to do things. So spoke to the guys and said, you cool if I don't work Fridays? And they're like, that's fine.
Mm.
So I don't work Fridays. It's my annual leave day. It also helps the balance sheet as a small business. So it's reducing the annual leave impost. But it's flexibility. And I think that, it's making sure that, for me, it's looking after a group of clients that I love working with. Um, it's not by myself. We always have two advisors across every client. So it's making sure that one of our other advisors, if I'm not there, can look after those clients. It's also being the CEO of JBS and seeing it grow and seeing the future, bringing on two new advisors over the last 2 to 3 years through their professional year, and they're now associate advisors, and doing amazing jobs, both of them, having two great business partners in Warren and Peter. So it's leading the marketing strategy with you. I love doing that. And whilst the guys don't mind it, it's not necessarily their passions, and everybody has their own skill set. So for me, I love doing it. So it's great to be able to lead that. Networking and talking to people, which is the lunches and the coffees. That's how you meet fabulous people, is to put yourself out there, get out of your comfort zone, and that then soon becomes your comfort zone.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess in some ways you guys are taking your own advice. The advice that you give your clients, you're really applying it to yourself, and hopefully the rest of the team are doing the same thing in their version of what's next.
Absolutely. So as we spoke about earlier, we work from home, and so what it does is it means that the team don't have to travel half an hour, an hour and a half each way into an office. They can nip out and pick up their kids from childcare or school. They can attend a school event. They can, if they've got a medical appointment, go to a medical appointment. So we have very much flexible working. It just needs to be in there's a couple of guidelines. It needs to be in your diary so that if someone needs you, they know where you are.
Yeah.
Um, and if you need the time, you don't have to put the time off in zero. If it's short, you make up the time. We're not clock watchers. We don't want to be, and it's that flexible working of family come first. And we're very big believers of family come first,
Mm.
and time is precious. And so, we want our team to love what they do, love helping our clients, and really enjoy it. Because the minute you don't, you stop enjoying what you're doing, you just want to give up and
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
And we don't want that for any of our team. We want them to love what they do.
Yeah, well, that's extremely important, because that's when you get that cohesion
Mm.
and yeah, so I I guess we've touched on a lot of things and we've mentioned the book already, but do you see retirement advice evolving even further in the next decade?
With JBS or
With JBS, yeah, like I just sort of feel like advice in retirement advice is really shape shifting, and you've talked about what your next looks like and how you've shape shifted. Do you feel like
Mm.
that the average person is going to look at it and go, well, I don't see it as a finite line
Yeah.
anymore, that, the gold watch, the whole, I mean, we don't even see people working for the same employer for, uh, you know,
No.
however long, people, the generations that come after us are all, massaging their careers very, very differently. So
Mm.
I guess retirement advice has to evolve, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. So one of our clients calls his retirement phase three. And it's the reason why he calls it phase three is he's got his, original, his study, school, uni days was phase one. His working days with marriage and kids is phase two. And so now retirement is phase three with his same wife and and kids, but a holiday house and enjoying life. And it's a phase. It's a phase that you go through. And I really we really embrace that because it is the next phase. And it is the flexibility of working 4 days or working 3 days or part-time work or finishing up, the stress-laden job and then moving into something that you really love and are passionate about. But it's making sure that you've got those, the I'm not going to say, I don't want to say boundaries, but it's making sure you've got the plan and the routine so that you just don't sit on the couch and watch the television, unless that's what you really want to do. But
Mm.
it's, it's not playing golf 5 days a week. It's not retiring and doing nothing and then painting the deck 3 times in the next 6 months because you're bored. It's retirement is very much it needs to be a lifestyle. And I love the fact that he calls it phase three because it really is. It's a phase of your life.
Yeah.
And but you need to be purposeful about it and you need to plan it to make sure that it is what you really want.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that idea that it's phase three. You know, yeah, I think that's a really good, that's a really novel way of thinking about it in a lot of ways. So,
Mm.
okay, how does JBS remain relevant? In the JBS, in the advice landscape. Obviously, and this may hark back to the book to some degree, but it's very hard to get cut through today. We live in a very noisy world.
Mm.
And it's sometimes hard to not only seek the attention but get the attention of people that really need the help. So how do you think, JBS can remain relevant?
So I'm a massive reader and listener to podcasts. So I love reading. I've always been a reader. I used to listen to tapes in my car, motivational tapes and things like that. So they evolved into podcasts when I moved into the digital era. Um, half the listeners won't even know what a tape is. Um, so I think because of that, I've always had a passion um, to do podcasts. I'm always happy to jump on and chat as we have been today, Jen. And as a result, JBS are about to launch or have launched. We're in the process of launching our podcast with the same name, Retirement: The Great Escape Plan. And we did that because we want to share the stories. Not everybody's a reader. So we want to share the stories within the book and hopefully get some cut through that way. If people see our name out there on a regular basis, or the name Retirement: The Great Escape Plan, then hopefully that brings them back to JBS to have a chat, seek advice, jump on our YouTube, have a look at more videos, all of that sort of stuff. So that's how I feel. Yes, we've still got our CPE fortnightly e-newsletter. Yes, we do a Monday markets for our clients, which is just on the markets. But I think the book and the podcast is really working tandem, along with our social media, Facebook and LinkedIn, but and Insta. We haven't evolved into TikTok. It's not I don't understand. I'm not on there. I'd rather stick to YouTube and LinkedIn, Facebook and Insta, because I understand it. So so I guess that's probably the main.
Congratulations on taking the dive.
Yes, I know. It's been a long time coming, and I think that I think it'd be great. I'm really we've already recorded a number of episodes. I've spoken to clients would they be guests, and they're so excited to be guests. And so the more we can get out our client stories out there, and the great stuff that they're doing, is
The
maybe we
more
can help
people that
somebody
will
else.
understand that phase 3 is not something to be scared of.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay, you have 2 associate advisors you've mentioned, and I've met both of them, and they're great people. And look, I think it'd be really lovely, to, with your infinite wisdom, and obviously, working with these 2 in your team, what should a young advisor consider, if they're interested in stepping into advice as a career opportunity?
I'd say just do it. It's and work it out. Look, having said that, I also believe that you need to, as a young advisor, you need to understand the client service, what goes on within client service. You need to understand how to pull a statement of advice together. So how to do some power planning. You don't have to be the greatest, but you need to understand, and you need to understand how the calculations work. And I mentioned earlier about spreadsheets, and they do my head in sometimes if I've spent a day in them, because I'm not getting any energy from them. They're draining. But you need to understand how they work and the numbers behind. I can look at a graph and go, there's something not right with that. Pull the numbers out and show me. And that's from years of experience. So I think you need to be able to understand that, and then move in to the associate advisor. We've been very lucky. We use Striver, so Alistair Barr, for our associate, well, the guys that have come on.
Yeah.
And we deliberately recruited for those that, when we had positions in client services, that those that wanted to step through and become advisors, because we knew that we needed to bring them on to help us look after our clients and be the associate advisor and work with the senior advisor. So I think that's really key, is having a drive. But getting out and talking to people, talk to advisors, and find out what they love and what they don't love about advising. Um, you know, Talking with Caitlin, I remember I was introducing her to Sharon when Sharon's joining us as our practice manager, and I said, so when Caitlin's ready to step in and do her PY year, then we're all behind it. And she said, I'm putting up my hand now, and it was it was in a social event. I went, are you ready? She said, absolutely. I said, okay, you're on.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's having that drive, it's wanting to do it. And she wanted to do it because she saw the difference that it can make for a family member,
yeah.
having good advice. So I think that's really key.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that, giving them the right environment to allow them to find their feet
Mhm.
and to really get clarity on who they are as an
Yeah.
individual, certainly within a framework, particularly if they're employed in already, as in your instance. But, not everybody's the same style of advisor, and you've got to find your own dynamic, your own way of
Mhm.
doing things, but still within the business. And I think you've created a good culture, a good breeding ground of sorts for that in JBS. So that's truly commendable. And you've got as a result, you've got two amazing young advisors in the
Mm,
business. So
absolutely.
okay, well, we've covered a lot.
We have.
But I want to ask you one final question. So looking back, what's one pivotal moment that changed the trajectory, gosh, if I can get it out, of JBS and for yourself, from then to now? Is there one time where you sort of you nodded and went, okay, that really made a difference?
Can I have two?
Okay, sure. You can do two. I've always known you are very good at negotiating.
So I think the first one was bringing in Warren. So if I go back 12 years, I knew we needed another advisor, and I'd been on the lookout for ages, and nobody had really. A lot of the advisors really were that tough, macho. You'll do it my way. 3-piece suit, collar straight, whatever the equivalent is in Martin Place in Sydney. That's not us. So JBS, we are, fun, family focused. That's just not our ethos. And I met Warren, and I'm not quite sure who interviewed whom. Um, but it still stuck with me, and he said to me, so if this works out in 2 years' time, can I have the opportunity to buy in? And I went, sure.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea how I was going to make it work. But,
That's cool.
it was a great opportunity. And yeah, so we worked out we had mutual connections. He finished the interview. He rang a guy. I rang a guy. He goes, I've just got off the phone from Warren. I went, yeah, and because I rang him too to get a non-referee, version of what's he like to work with. And yeah, so we're 12 years down the track. Warren's a absolute pivotal part of JBS, and it couldn't have been better. It was a match made in heaven. We've got complementary skills, and then add Peter involved in there as well. And Peter's been with us 14, 15 years. Started as client service,
Wow.
did PY before PY was ever a thing. And yeah, and also a partner. So I think having that and having someone to share the trials and the tribulations, and the really great moments and the excitement. So that changed the course of JBS, and I think that made us a lot more. I'd had boards in the past and things, but it made us a lot more structured because our partnership agreement said we have to have quarterly board meetings, yada yada yada. And I'm one of these people going, right, well, we need to do this. And so there's a lot more of that side. The second part, which really we've talked about a little bit, was COVID and working from home. The decision we were deliberately made not to be in an office and to pivot the business into a family first flexible arrangement has been instrumental.
Yeah.
So I think, bring them both in, but it comes down to the people, doesn't it?
It
You know,
always does.
and you've got to really like who you work with, because otherwise and you've got to like your business partners, um, and trust them. It's like trust, respect, as a mentor of mine always said. And it's been great. So, and it's why I keep working and doing what I'm doing, because I love it. And I know that, if something wasn't right, they'd pull me up on it, and vice versa. But I don't think we've had crossword in 12 years. And with Peter,
Yeah.
I don't think it's been, he's a couple of years longer. It's great. The three of us just get on so well.
Yeah.
It's what
Well,
I
as
love
you say, a match made in heaven.
It is, and it's what I love about JBS, and hopefully they feel the same. But yeah.
We'll talk to them. Wow, that I actually really love that. I think that's a really unique story, and I think it's probably something that not everybody is aware of, because obviously when you start businesses and how you exit them are two different things, and we don't always go into business with the end in mind. So, I think that's really lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Jen, I want to say thank you. Your honesty is always amazing. And I love all our conversations. What I do want to compliment you on is your leadership, not just in business, but in shaping everything you do. And I can talk about retirement advice and all that stuff, but I think I watch you in different forums, different situations, different environments, and you lead by example. And I think that's a testament to not only the legacy that you've built or are continuing to build, but the way you approach life and business. So congratulations on everything that you've achieved. Big congratulations on an amazing book, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, the podcast.
That's true. Forgot the podcast.
It's been an absolute pleasure chatting as always. And look, I want to say a big thank you. We've been working together for 10 years. I know it's pretty amazing. And when we first started working together, I was doing all the social media, and it's really hard for me to let go, as I've mentioned earlier. But it's fantastic. You've just taken it and run with it, and run everything past me, of course, or just do stuff on post. But we've got a great relationship. Couldn't have done it without you. Couldn't have written the book without you. Or if I did, it would have taken 3 times as long and been a lot harder. But yeah, I value you as I call you my marketing manager. You are Genesis, and Jenny Pierce is my marketing manager, because you do the stuff that makes us look really good. So
Thanks, Jen. Well, here's to what's next.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for tuning in to the Jenesis Gems podcast. This season marks 20 years of Genesis, and it's all about reflecting on where we've come from, recognising the momentum we've built, and imagining what's next. If today's conversation sparks something for you, make sure to subscribe and share it with a colleague. And if you're ready to explore your then, now, next story, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep turning your ideas into reality.